Hey everybody, it's Informed and Confused. I'm Alan.
And I'm Nick.
And today we're back with Star Trek Discovery, episode 5.
This is an important episode. This is going to set up a lot of stuff for the series coming. It's not actually an exposition dump episode. It's a good, proper adventure, but like so much good detail here. Well then, shall we get into it with that preamble?
Engage.
Make it so. You know what's hilarious? These recaps are fucking awful when you're binging this and watching it on your own. But when we're doing this, like formatively, that is so fucking great for us.
Either someone's drunk or it's a dream sequence.
You know, this is a niche gripe, but I like how dream sequences have gotten better over like the history of television production.
Dr. Culber, I've been studying the creature since it came on board.
Do you know what the captions on this app remind me of? Why illegal pirate fan subbers always used yellow.
Destruction of the dilithium mines at Corventu.
Those uniforms really make everyone's ass
You
look
look awful.
Thank you, Tilly.
That's it. We're gonna have lunch right now.
No, it's like a good pair of
I mean, you're
jeans.
gonna
It's
tell
just
me what's
it's
going on
lifting
with
and
you.
holding.
There's nothing to tell.
Then that gives you the time and space to actually process what you're going through emotionally.
I don't like it.
Vulcan.
Right? I love feeling feelings.
Just she's one transfusion away from bleeding green. I'm saying, man, just
My ship. My way.
starting to see the grit I was talking about.
The whole Western thing is still not coming through.
I really feel he's got a cowboy swagger to him. It's just what I feel in my bones about the character. Yeah, I like this episode. This is a good episode. It's just not my favorite of this season.
Characteristics most often cited include bravery, self-sacrifice, intelligence, tactical brilliance, compassion.
Computer,
Two of those were the
initiate new
same
protocol.
goddamn thing.
Please record all data related to my performance as acting captain of Discovery.
Alternative solution, eliminate destructive element.
Not an option.
You know, the length of that pause makes it seem like it took a minute. Dwight Schrute, ladies and gentlemen.
The name is Mudd. Harcourt Fenton Mudd. Harry, for short. I reiterate.
Harry Mudd?
Yes.
It's Harry Mudd. Oh,
Yes.
interesting.
Okay, and here's what I think is really fun.
On a resort. off
Like,
Antares
I didn't
Minor.
realize about it, this guy. He's actually a really good actor.
Far away. Typical Starfleet, no fun at all. The only crime I'm guilty of is loving too much. It's true.
He's
Harry Mudd.
chewing scenery in an empty room. How great is this?
Sweet Stella. Out to lunch.
It's just so over the fucking top.
You have these weird reactions to actors, like I don't get anything extreme about that at all. That's just a guy acting out a scene, in my opinion.
He's acting out like this is a stage play and he's playing to the back of the room. But this is television. Close-ups are a thing. He's not even in wide angle for most of this.
But then I very rarely notice cinematic shit.
We watch stuff differently. Like to me, it's a conscious choice on like the production, the scripting side of things, and they're choices that make me laugh.
Like anytime you notice the like angle stuff, I'm not even consciously aware of that until you bring it up.
Do you want to know why I started doing that? Because I didn't used to watch shit that way. I got into Kubrick.
Just like
I will say they did a good job in casting in that case for Harry Mudd. From what I remember of the character.
I
It's been
really
a while.
I didn't know Harry Mudd was an existing character.
Yes, Harry Mudd is an original.
I don't remember this.
An existing character from an original series show
Oh, I didn't.
episode. Yes.
No.
Lieutenant Stamets.
Yeah.
Okay, this is now like 10
Drive
times
is
more
joined.
awesome because like the character
Lounging.
has just been beyond
What's your
entertaining
key for
to
the
me.
war effort?
What are you doing with your mouth?
I am swallowing the urge to set the record straight.
That won't kiss anywhere.
That is saucy.
Would you want to fix this?
She looks like she could slap you and you'd thank her for it. Like, now to try and give context as to what I find so funny, think about how tight, close, and small
Apologies, Lieutenant.
their performance was.
Stewart has boundary issues.
And then compare that to Harry's intro.
We're both a little hungry.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to watch
food
this.
out of mouths, the only two men
not
standing
hearing.
between you and death.
No, my point was to point out the juxtaposition between how big and boisterous Harry Mudd's introduction was compared to how small and tight the next sequence we really see is. What I find funny is how big and boisterous he is in comparison. There's not really a need for it in this format. It's a holdover from theater traditions, and it makes me smile.
Again, you're
killing the tardigrade. All right, let's
you'd
start
make more
with
sense if
our
you were quoting
mushroom.
quantum physics.
Prototype
I'm sorry.
Recording.
I hate to be a buzzkill,
No,
but
no. This is why we work so well. You've got that hyper analytic brain, and I'm over here talking abstracts.
It's fungal root cadet. It is fucking cool.
How great is it that Trick gets to swear now?
I like it. I'm fine with it. I know a lot of people just do not like it, but
Fuck them.
yeah, it doesn't bother me.
Your English, it's excellent.
There is no Warren Bussing, say.
I was gonna go with Clockwork Orange reference, but
Lieutenant Reese,
That was my first thought. Thought it was too obvious.
fun fact, you know, in A Clockwork Orange when they did that, they actually almost took out the dude's eye, and the person putting drops in his eyes is an actual doctor, because if they didn't, he would have lost his
Lieutenant
eyes.
Stamets has taken the spore drive offline, sir.
Saving this tardigrade will neither bring back nor change the fact that this is exactly the kind of behavior that killed Captain Giorgio.
Bridge to the captain.
Hell of a fucking actor.
Identified the battle cruiser that is holding Captain Lorca.
Acknowledged.
Held the anger,
Lieutenant
broke
Stamets,
on the last
bring the
syllable
drive
to
back online,
sell it,
prepare the
like,
tardigrade to
damn.
jump.
You can tell he does not like what he has to do. You can tell this hurts.
Not, well,
I just had my words.
I mean, I didn't get that he felt
by the
bad
Klingon
about what he was
captain.
doing.
Been feeding
I didn't get
intel.
that at all.
Every
I got
prisoner
that he's
passed through.
paranoid. And he's not thinking clearly. That's what I got out of it. But
Wow.
we didn't all see that coming.
It's not like that was, defined to be the crux of this adventure.
You know. It's not like they like 3 different people that were warning you. Oh. Yeah.
The creature has gone into a state of extreme cryptobiosis by reducing the water content levels of its body to less than 1%. Its vital signs have slowed to the point we can barely detect them.
Well, rehydrate it and bring it back. Mr. Reese, have we been detected?
Negative. Captain Saru,
Location of Klingon prison ship. Do you understand my orders, and can I count on you to follow them, Lieutenant Stamets?
Come on.
Yes, sir.
Oh. Doesn't care.
Yeah, Stamets is a bit of a dick.
Like, I gotta say, at this point, if I had to pick a captain, I'd pick Lorca over Saru. Just based
Oh,
off
no,
current performance.
I'm not saying Saru's a good captain. I'm saying I like Saru's character.
Oh, yeah.
I like the actor playing him.
Excuse me, Captain.
I think the prosthetics are really, really good, which always helps.
I fully support that idea.
Star Trek, establishing it's okay to punch women. Nah, it's just okay to punch women. And shoot them in the face, apparently.
Tyler, I found the docking bay. Get up, let's go.
That looks really painful.
Redirect all auxiliary power to shields. Blue panel on the right.
Must.
5 raiders in pursuit.
I want you to know I like them even more now.
Your eyes. What happened when you destroyed the Baran, didn't it?
I thought you couldn't get a lock windshield.
That's when you said lower the shield.
Well, no, they said they had a lock. And that they needed to lower the shields to do the transmit. Did I just catch a lore issue?
Captain of Bridge, you got
Not
us.
necessarily.
Jump down.
What's Brett Spiner doing? It might still be a lore issue.
No, I think
We are
you
able
can get
to
a lock.
jump,
You just can't
Commander.
beam for the shield.
Klingon raiders have detected our transporter signature. They're locking weapons.
Black alert.
Yeah, for some reason I thought S.H.I.E.L.D.'s like just completely isolated you.
Go. Easy, soldier. You're home.
Thank you.
And now I have to kill you because you're aware of the spore drive.
Back into the war on a ship with a target on his back.
Hey, this is Starfleet. They'll just imprison him for life.
Congratulations, Lieutenant.
Warning, failure to initiate spore drive deactivation sequence. Spore chamber active. Density
Oh, he
at
used
68%.
himself.
Yup.
Yeah.
Dude, Stamens is a
Nice.
fucking boss.
Yeah.
And now he's part mushroom, which I believe is what he's always wanted.
Captain, he injected himself with the tardigrade DNA compound.
Not gold caps, Ben.
Is he dead?
He comes back with a look on his face like he's possessed by a demon.
Yes.
That's the face you make after spouting the "your mother sucks cocks in hell" line. Like, tell me he doesn't look like a crazy person.
Kinda,
You did well. Very well.
He had a difference in priorities. Like, I don't actually think it's a failure of command. I think it's a case of he was looking at it as like, okay, I've got 3 crewmen not doing what I need, and the rest of the crew doing what I'm saying. Like, I can understand Saru's frustration.
I see it as him putting blinders on.
You know what? That is a fair assessment, and I don't think either one's really mutually exclusive.
She left it to me.
Like, how many times are people just blinded by
yours
good
now.
intentions? I will say this sequence does feel a little weird to me, because it feels like Saru's looking for her approval, which doesn't quite make sense to me.
I think it's more a matter of he recognizes his treatment of her wasn't entirely based on the facts at hand, but rather because of his own personal feelings. So he's kind of.
Saru's actually a really good character for growth over the course of the series. Like, he goes through a lot. And I think it's just by and large the
May the sun and moon
case of being a first officer. Like, that always ends up being a big character. There's another version of this script where it's a tasteful burial at sea. Tell me this isn't a funeral. This is opening the bottle of whiskey and pouring it over the Irishman's casket.
Honestly, when they first went to this shot for a second, I thought that's what that was. I thought they died, and that's what they were doing.
Yeah, you know, I did too, but like, and then just immediately with the cryptobiosis thing, and you know what, fair, because to my understanding of like real world water bears, like they can go into dormant states for ludicrous lengths of time. All they need to survive is water. They don't need oxygen.
I know what I did.
See, growth. The final reveal that they're married. Think about all the shit they've given each other.
I've spent my entire career trying to grasp the
They're having a nice moment. They'll have to make it weird.
Yeah, no, and we're just laughing at that, and there's no way anyone heard what was said. And that's probably for the best, in all honesty.
Yeah.
of possibility. Yes, dear doctor.
It's Star Trek. He injected alien DNA into himself. He
They're-
is not okay.
They are honestly the cutest couple. To just sidetrack you, like, honestly, they are so good together. The on-screen chemistry. I wonder how long those actors had to sit together to get this comfortable with each other. I mean, that's nothing to worry about, right? How bad could that possibly be? It's not like Star Trek has, you know, a mirror universe or something. So yeah, I did not know that Harry Mudd was a reoccurring character. That's pretty awesome.
He was yeah. He's in at least one original series episode. Possibly two. I believe it's something with like he's like seducing women somehow, like with some sort of chemical or something.
You know, this sounds
that
like
sort of
this sounds
thing.
like a hardcore Fenton Mudd scheme.
It's been a long time since I've seen that episode, a very long time. So I want to go back and watch that episode now. That's what this episode made me do. Is I need to go back and watch the Harry Mudd episode.
When you find it, let me know, because now I'm super curious. I am really curious now. No, I had no idea. I just thought this was like, oh, so they got a cameo with an actor who's known for enjoying science fiction, who would, of course, jump to be in Trek. And then it's also someone with enough of a pedigree that's like, if we give you a legacy character, you're not going to fuck it up, which now fucking makes so much more sense to me.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, it's good casting. He looks like Mud. Mud didn't have a beard, but if you kind of mentally take the beard out and just leave the mustache, he looks like a Mud. Best I can remember.
He's been in prison for a while, so I mean...
Yeah, but so the casting's good. And he's got that kind of... Mud is a very, to use your phrase, chew up the scenery kind of guy. Mud loves mud. You know, so...
I'm sorry. I love it when an actor is playing to the back of the house and the camera's 5 feet away. There is something about that fucking makes me giggle.
Yeah. But... Yeah, no, I'm curious to see if he makes a reappearance or not. But, yeah. No, overall, it was a good episode.
Yeah, no, I was a little worried because so much of it completely hinges on a Klingon plot point.
Again, the most irritating part of this was the Klingon stuff. The Klingon weapons, guns looked at nothing like they're supposed to. And the Klingon ships, I'm not even going to comment on. They were so bad.
You sold that with a look.
Yeah, it's the aesthetics. It was still the biggest thing here. I can see how a lot of other people compare this to Picard. A lot of people don't like the tone of it with some of the violence and the language and all that.
See, I actually think that's what sells it. I think that's what kind of grounds it a little more.
Well, like I said, that doesn't bother me. I think that adds more of a sense of realism to it.
Well, I mean, case in point, I've argued that we should drink and smoke during every fucking show because I feel it's more realistic. Nobody just sits around. Everybody has a thing.
One of my favorite moments in Picard is when the Admiral just looks at Picard and says, she says something like the sheer fucking hubris. And that's the first time they drop an F-bomb, and it's just like, oh, this is a thing now. Huh. I'm interested to see where they take this with this tone shift. But, yeah. No, but some people, you get your purists out there who are like, it's supposed to be a post-scarcity socialist utopia, so everybody's nice and no one swears, and, it's nothing's gritty. When we fight, we just do this. We don't do
Hey, double fist punch is devastating.
Like, yeah, but, I've always, like I said, we said before, I like DS9 for a reason.
Yeah.
Over the others, because it feels the most real.
Well, I think that's, like, generally true of anyone who liked DS9. I think that was, like, its greatest strong suit. And I think that's something that the newer series, again, like Picard and like this, really lean into. I also find it hilarious that we have two of the grittiest versions of Trek alongside two of the... I'm going to call them the cleanest, but I'm sure you're going to argue one of them's not clean at all.
What one?
Lower Deck and Prodigy.
I mean...
Lower Decks is clean because at the end of the day, it has the standard cartoon show stakes where they're never really going to mess with anything. Everything's going to be fixed. Like,
I mean, it's a cartoon which in and of itself...
Yeah,
It's not gratuitous.
Yeah,
so.
that's sort of my point.
And it's a comedy, so
they're
different rules, different tone.
Yeah, they're doing more of a commentary on the tropes than actually committing to them type of a thing. But Prodigy, like that's straight up aimed at kids and families. Like that's
yeah. Though I like one guy pointed out on there, it's like, it can't be that too much of a kid show. It starts with a storyline about a bunch of children who are currently enslaved and escape from slavery. So it's not exactly, we're not talking Nick Jr. levels of...
As long as none of the child slaves ask if their rescuers are an angel.
Oh, God. One of the characters on that show is that level of annoying, but for entirely different reasons.
See,
I gotta get caught up on this show.
The one episode of that we watched at Con when you were like, hey, this is premiering, and I was like, it's a kid's show. And then we watched it. The like rock thing, like with the weird spiky hair.
It was like 3.
Yeah,
in human years.
No, not the little girl. The like big dude one.
Well, it's a girl.
Oh, is it?
It's a girl, but she has like the mind of like a 3 or 4-year-old.
No, because it's a specific comedian who I can't think of the name. It's the same guy who played David on The Good Place, if I've got the name right. When the AI construct made a boyfriend who was like, my penis is a wind chime.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, that comedian.
You mean the Tellarite guy?
Oh, it might be a Tellarite.
The one who always refers to himself in the third person?
Possibly. I watched it once while drinking and smoking at a convention.
You were aware enough to recognize one of the voice actors. So
because I had also just watched John Wick, and in the third one, he plays a homeless dude who climbs out of a pile of trash, starts saying crazy shit about vaccines, rolls up his sleeve to reveal a gold Rolex, and then just goes, "TikTok, Mr. Wick." And I think it's one of the funniest fucking things ever, just because it's like, how did you get cast for this? He's a stand-up comedian. He's been doing this shit for years, and it's fucking hilarious, and it kills me that I don't know his name, because I've seen, like, 3 of his sets, like, on TV and online and shit, so it's like, no, I know who this guy is. He's fucking great, but it's like, god damn.
Getting back to this, I am curious to see now what they do with the Spore Drive. Now that they have proof of concept that a human being can work with this, how are they going to... Obviously, I assume they're going to try and refine the process and do tests or whatever and try and get it to where anybody can...
I mean, like, without, like, taking long view, the big problem that they establish here very, very clearly, what Stamets just did, stupid levels of illegal. Like, it just with what's been established here... He could end up going to prison for life, just period.
Yeah, eugenics experiments. Very, very illegal in the Federation.
And even if they send him to one of the cushy ones, it's got to be a case of, no, you're under observation until the day you die, and 3 weeks after, fuck you, no.
He's now one of those horrific scientific experiments.
He's one of those things where his husband's going to end up being the lead researcher. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the specific division that deals in weird scientific crap. There's the episode of Lower Decks with
dog. Yeah, oh God, what's the name? I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I forget the name of the group.
I want to get a dog and name it Bear. So I mean, that's not so ridiculous.
But I could swear I've seen a show or a movie somewhere where there is a dog named Bear.
It's not an uncommon dog name.
Yeah,
I had a friend.
I know I've heard a dog be called Bear before.
One of my friends growing up had German Shepherds, and the big black one was named Bear. Bear was a good dog.
Yeah, no, but yeah, I liked the. Yeah, this was, like I said, this was, other than the usual aesthetic stuff with the Klingons, this was a solid episode. The stuff with Michael and...
Now, just from a plotting standpoint, and it's just because I need clarification, because I want to find where the line is with you, because I want to have, like, good talks about the Klingon, like, culture points in this. Because I think, like, from a lore standpoint, what they've done with the Klingons is really interesting and engaging. I like it.
Yeah, like the lore stuff, for the most part, is pretty good.
Like the whole choose your pain with the prison, how they actually like conducted torture, like.
I mean, the Klingons in this era, in the TOG era, are not nearly as fleshed out culturally. Yeah, TOS era. Aren't as fleshed out, at least not in the show. They're just more,
Well, they were by and large
authoritarian bad guys.
They were by and large a stand-in for the Soviet Union at the time. By and large.
Yeah. I don't know the exact episode count.
It's low, but I know it's more than that because I know there's a couple of multi-part runs where they're dealing with them specifically.
But
because it's like even like the way they solve trouble with tribbles, don't they ultimately just be like, "Hey, Klingons, come deal with these"?
No, I mean, how they solve the Tribble problem?
Yeah.
Well, the Scotty beams all the Tribbles over to their ship at the last minute before they warp away.
Yeah, so the Klingons will deal with these, and it'll be a glorious fight. It's their ancient and honorable enemy.
Yeah, I've told you. The Klingons launch a crusade, a full-scale war against the Tribbles, and wipe out their homeworld.
They should.
Which is why in the Next Generation era, they're extinct. The
Good.
Klingons destroyed them all.
Good.
It's so weird in the video game that you end up with so many triples in your inventory. No,
But-
it is really perplexing.
Yeah, no, I mean, but like the choose your pain thing, that's kind of. I can't remember the Klingons ever doing something like that. Honestly, that seems something more like what the Cardassian Obsidian Order would do. Or maybe the Tal Shiar. Mostly the Cardassians.
See,
though.
okay, this is one of those things that's like always bothered me in like all of Star Trek, and it's not really something that I feel can necessarily be addressed, and it's an issue that probably I'm the only person on Earth to ever have. It feels like, and I think what it ultimately is power creep because of how long things have been running. It feels like they always try to paint the Klingons like they are one of the greatest threats in the universe if they ever decide to pick a fight.
Mm-hmm.
But then anytime you actually see like practical expressions of force within the universe, it ain't ever the Klingons. And when the Klingons do shit, like usually it almost seems quaint by comparison. Because like you point out, I'm way more worried about the Tal Shiar than fucking anybody else in the Star Trek universe.
Well, I mean, it's part of it's a matter of timing and just application of force, application of power.
Because like to be clear, I like the Klingons. I think they're an excellent
Part of it is in the next generation era forward, especially in DS9, for the most part, with a brief exception, the Klingons aren't the antagonists. They are technically allies of the Federation in that era.
Even when they're allies, though, it seems like the Federation's bailing them out more than the Klingons are. There's a lot of surface dialogue too. The Klingon line is spread thin, but it's holding type of a deal.
Well,
and somebody always makes a crack
specifically-
about tough bastards.
That's specifically stuff during the Dominion War. During specific the Klingon line being thin thing is a reference in the Dominion War right after the Breen enter the war, and the Romulan and Federation fleets have to completely pull off the front line because they are vulnerable to the Breen energy weapons, but the Klingons aren't. So the Klingons are holding the entire front line entirely by themselves. 2 of the 3 major powers have actually pulled all their forces off the front line, so they're carrying the entire burden of the war themselves. I think they say they're outnumbered like 20-1 at one point.
Okay,
and that's what that is. That's simply a matter of being numerically outnumbered in a specific situation because their allies are incapacitated.
Part of it too is like when you compare like a large Klingon war vessel to like say a large Vulcan defensive vessel, because the Vulcans aren't really war people, but they do acknowledge you need a few guns.
Well, I mean, now
it seems like the difference in technology would like just make the Klingons not a threat.
Well, considering Vulcan ships, the only Vulcan ships of that type we see are from an era 200 years prior.
I mean, you could also argue with the Romulans. I mean, basically the same culture on a parallel path.
Well, I mean, each side has their strengths. Like, I mean, the biggest difference between the Romulans and the Klingons in terms of threat is the Romulans have like the Tal Shiar, right? An intelligence agency. The Klingons have an intelligence agency, but it's not anywhere near as good. The Klingons are all about.
Don't they just seem to have like random spies? Like every clan has a couple.
No, I mean we've seen instances where there have been Klingon agents, but they usually don't do very well. The Klingons just aren't.
They tend to shout a lot.
Klingon intelligence is kind of like German intelligence during World War II. It's just not very good. Like the Germans had in terms of like actual armies and planes and shit. Like they're just out there kicking ass.
Oh yeah, no,
but the spies sucked.
No, mechanized Germany was an impressive beast, and there's days where I look at it and it's like how did we compete? Yeah. And the answer is by just having cheaper shit that we banged out in equal numbers.
That's a whole nother bloody discussion. But
that's a tactics thing.
I used it as a brief analogy. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole.
Oh no! I'm speaking to the nature of military technology. The way we managed to counter that was just by having simple mass production.
Different conversation. But no, with the Klingons, it's simply a matter of that their thing is just pure offensive power. That's their thing. That's how they fight wars. Is they, they're not. The Klingons don't use nuance generally.
They're not worried about shields. They're worried about how big the gun is.
That's an oversimplification of it. Yeah,
I was going for an oversimplification.
Yeah, but it's a matter of there's the enemy. Go destroy them.
Yeah, yeah. It's very A-B logic.
Yeah, whereas like the Romulans are much more devious, sinister. The Romulans, for one thing, the Romulans don't like starting fights. The Romulans prefer to poke and prod and get their enemy to start the fight on their terms, right? The Romulans.
In a weird way, that's kind of what the start of this series was with the Klingons, because ultimately T'Kuvma's goal was to get the Federation to make a fist.
Yeah, and they have things like the Tal Shiar. They're very good at deception and spy. I mean, they are the originators of the cloaking device, right?
I mean, as far as we know, this series has been a little nebulous about that.
When it comes to, if I have to pick between this and all the rest of Star Trek canon, I'm going to go with all the rest of Star Trek canon.
I genuinely like the idea of like a very smart Klingon captured a damaged Romulan vessel and reversed engineered something working that's not Romulan tech, but like it's you get what I mean.
Yeah,
like,
but I'm just saying that's clearly not, that is very definitively not what actually happened. It's a very specific storyline in the original show where the Romulans and the Klingons have a actual agreement. The Romulans give them cloaking technology, and the Klingons give them basically their ships, copies of their ships. The Romulans actually use those kind of D7 kind of weird long neck type ships for a while because they got them from the Klingons, and that is like we said about the thing with the Klingons and the Soviets. That is a mirroring of the.
Because weren't the Romulans supposed to be the Chinese?
Yeah, that was a mirroring of the alliance between the Chinese and the Soviets, which is then mirrored because there's a breakdown of relations between the Romulans and the Klingons, and eventually by TNG, the Romulans and Klingons hate each other, which is mirroring the breakdown of relations between the Chinese and the Soviets. That happened historically, so. That's kind of the dynamic, which is the same thing with like the Klingons becoming the Federation allies.
Oh yeah, no,
this is the end of the Cold War. And,
Trek has always liked to lean on real world inspiration. That's why I was trying to compare real world tactics there. Like, we can like bring up a dark portion of our history and relate it back to Trek, and leave it completely in Trek because of the way the show's actually made.
Yeah, like the couple of times the Klingons are actually at war with the Federation, it's made clear that the Federation is struggling, having to put up a fight. Like, well, yeah, they are. The Klingon and Romulan empires drastically predate the Federation.
Oh yeah, no, the Klingons had already made contact with other warp-capable species before we were even off our planet.
They were full-blown empires.
Yeah.
Already by the time Earth, at least by the time of Enterprise.
Well, it's one of those things, like, even, like, well into what we understand as the Star Trek story, like, when we get to DS9, there is a metric fuck ton of people throughout this universe that are like, what the fuck are you doing, humans? You've been here a week. Why are you trying to jump lines?
I mean,
like Quark really points it out repeatedly that there's a lot of Vulcan and human morals just getting superimposed in places.
Yeah, I mean it's.
And if you don't like it, you end up getting answered to with Andorian muscle. It don't work out well for you.
But I mean, cause the whole idea with the Romulans were always kind of off by themselves doing their own thing, and the Klingons were off by themselves doing their own thing, and they were basically the two big powerhouses, and everybody else was kind of small fry. And then the Romulans bumped into Earth, and the Earth-Romulan War happens. The Romulans got their asses kicked, and out of that, four disparate, smaller polities, Earth, Andor, Tellar, and Vulcan, all suddenly became one big one, and immediately started picking up new members. So that by the turn of the next, within 50 years, the Federation is, like, damn near the size of the, like, like the size of the freaking Romulan Empire. If you go by some of the maps I've seen, so it basically it was like the historical comparison would be the unification of Germany in the 19th century. You went from having all those little tiny German states to having one big state, and then all of a sudden that kind of threw the power balance off because there was a new guy on the block.
Yeah, because nobody expected Germany to be a thing.
Well, because you went from. I'm making a different analogy. I'm not talking about an a actual scripted thing. I'm making it my own analogy. But where you go from having essentially an area of power vacuum to all of a sudden you have the new guy who's shot themselves to the top of the pile. And then you kind of had the three-way thing between the Federation, the Klingons, and the Romulans, and then eventually the Klingons and the Federation make peace, and all of a sudden the Romulans are all kind of pissy because, of the big three, two are in an alliance, and that kind of puts them as the odd man out. Which is why in Next Generation, when you have the Romulans interfering in the Klingon Civil War, with the whole thing with Duras and Garan and all that shit.
Yeah.
Right, that's the whole thing of the new Romulan Klingon alliance would completely destabilize the entire regional balance of power, because the Klingons, the Romulans, and the Federation are the big three. They are the big three heavy hitters in that era.
Yeah, at least for the Alpha Quadrant. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody else is either like a second or third tier power. Well, yeah, and then the Dominion shows up and it's like, fuck, but no. Yeah, and taking down the Dominion takes all three of them. Yeah. Well, strictly speaking, it takes all three of them and the Cardassians switching sides. But
that sounds like a very Cardassian thing to do. Yeah, you start the war on one side, and then you get out there and you look around and you realize they have a better brand of Kanar.
I mean, in the universe, the Cardassians do kind of flip flop. They start out as bad guys. Then the civilians take over, and for 5 minutes, they're good guys. And then Dukat takes over and allies them with the Dominion, and then they're bad guys again. And then, in the last 3 episodes, they switch sides again, and now they're the good guys. Well, you have Damar and the Resistance Movement, who are good guys for longer than that. But, the point still stands. They flip. They're Italy. Never pass up an opportunity to make a flip-flopping joke.
I am not going to argue with the fascistic comparison.
Well, I was more making the point of Italy flip-flopping sides in the world wars.
Yeah, and I'm willing to argue that Cardassian society is fairly fascistic in nature.
Well, yeah, it's a military run, or at the very least, it's a military-based society.
Also relying on a cult of personality for their leader.
Not really. There is no one Cardassian leader we ever meet.
Dukat, when he seized control, he was just the end-all, be-all.
All right, you can make that argument somewhat, though. At that point, because realistically, though, at that point, he's a puppet governor for Dominion society.
Yeah, and if anybody's taking this too seriously right now, remember, we're talking about a fucking actor wearing makeup in a fictional show. I
don't think anybody was going there, but yeah.
The internet's become a really weird place.
I don't like to feed the beast if it's not already asking me for food. I'm not gonna put anything out if it's not even begging. So, but yeah, now the Dominion is clearly a fascistic.
Yeah,
they literally create a race to work for them who are genetically bred to believe they are gods. That's about as cult of personality as you can get.
Yeah, that's up there.
Yeah. All right, we have gone on way too long here.
We've been being nerds about Trek, and discussion led to further Trek, and that's how it goes.
Yeah, I like to think at this time we at least kept most of the ranting to after the reaction.
Oh yeah, we stayed on target.
We were much on. Okay, nobody's going to go for the Star Wars reference. Okay, I thought somebody was going to make a stay on target joke, but okay.
No, we were on target.
Yeah.
All right. No, okay.
Just search your feelings. You'll know it to be true. It's fine.
Anyways.
There's no space in Star Trek for Star Wars.
Sure there is.
I believe there is a crossover comic.
Star Wars, Star Trek crossover fan fiction is just
No. I'm not saying
Relevant.
fan fiction. I believe it's a licensed product.
as a license. Is there
I believe it's
a
from
licensed comic?
I believe it's from the real late 80s, like right when TNG launched.
I thought it was early 80s.
I know it's well after the Star Wars movies and when like the licensing mania on it was at its fucking peak.
It would have to be like 880s. But anyways,
Yeah.
yeah. So another good episode. Looking forward to more next time.
I keep saying it, but I'm so glad that you got into this show. Like, because I don't think you ever would have watched this if I hadn't poked and prodded you.
Probably
into
not.
It.
Maybe not. We would have seen, but like I said, I
Who
still
knows?
have
Maybe 5 years from now, the fan base will soften a little on it.
I will say this: as of right now, I haven't seen anything that negates any of the problems I had with it initially. I will say the one thing I picked up on that isn't what I thought it would be in a negative way. I expected Michael to act much more Vulcan. I was expecting that to be much more of a thing, and whereas, not really.
See, I think they're trying to hammer home that she's not Spock. I think that's
She's
really
not
what it comes
actually
down
a Vulcan.
to.
You can be raised by an logic, but at the end of the day, she isn't Vulcan. She's still human. She can't. Yeah, she can't.
Yeah, she got adopted when she was real little.
Yeah, apparently, like her parents got killed, and
Klingon attack on a colony.
Yeah, and Sarek took her in, but yeah, no, but yeah, and I'm glad of that. I didn't want her to be, it's like, oh God, so we can't, we're not going to have another Vulcan character. We're just going to have a human act like one. Like, really? No, we didn't go that route.
Yeah, Burnham does a good job of being her own person. Like, she doesn't really subscribe to a trope.
The idea of her just having been, taken in by Sarek to a certain degree, and she's not acting like a Vulcan, but Sarek is just a trusted mentor that she trusts and can go to talk about things. That's a much more reasonable thing than her being like Spock's half sister or something. Step sister, but
half sister would mean Sarek was.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Well,
Sarek does trade them out every few years when they expire, but I don't believe he's unfaithful.
Yeah, no. But yeah, no. So I'm enjoying it.
Infidelity would be illogical.
I was gonna say, I still have my qualms with it, and I still, in my own head, generally don't consider this to be canon. Like, if I'm thinking about what happens and what's going on in the Star Wars universe, in the Star Trek universe, any of the implications that this is providing are separate to me. Like you said, I am keeping this as a separate thing in its own universe.
I think this is like a good soft launch step-off point for like a revitalization of the whole brand with a, updated continuity. I could see this being a thing. Whether or not that's the direction anything goes.
I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, they're on season 4. They've done a bunch of other stuff with it. I mean, we already established, I know, at some point, I think in season 3 or whatever, they go into the future. They end up doing stuff in the future, like in the 29th century or something like that, and that's where the show parks itself. Which I'm actually interested to see what they do with that, simply because it is in the far future, and I'm curious to see what their impression of Trek's future looks like.
You would find it a bit less egregious at that point?
Well, because it's a new era. At that point, there is no established...
Rules change, things update.
Yeah, there is no established 29th century Trek lore, so you're not stepping on anything.
Okay, honestly, the settings that I've been through with this, I've really enjoyed. Yeah. I genuinely really like this.
All the things that any part of the show that doesn't have to do with it's trampling on things that I already consider canon. Anything outside of that, I'm enjoying. I'm enjoying the story. I'm enjoying the characters. Even the Klingons, as much as I don't like the way they look and some of the stuff they've said about their own society.
You gotta admit, they are pretty cool.
I like the characters they're giving me. I like the idea of the religious fanatic angle of it.
That's one of the things I really liked about it, too, because it always felt like the Klingons were, they always paid lip service to worshiping Kahless. It always seemed like sort of this background, not really there. It seemed like Klingon society had become a bunch of Chris Meisters.
It's just something they generally don't touch. But
There's a spectrum of those who take it way too seriously and those who pay lip service.
yeah, I mean, it's just something they don't. They do pay more attention to it, like I said, in the later shows, in DS9 and to a certain extent Voyager.
I think once they realized Worf was the dude to follow.
Yeah. Well, it's like DS9 really, one of the other things I like about DS9 is DS9 handled religion in Trek in a way that's much different than like Next Generation. Largely because no Roddenberry. Roddenberry was a committed atheist. Roddenberry didn't like the idea of a future where religion was still a thing. Once he was gone, they were able to kind of lighten the tone on it. And so you have things like the Bajorans and the Prophets and Worf exploring some of his stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to point out, though, with the Prophets, though, their gods literally exist and can be physically interacted with. Like, they're...
True, but that's not...
They didn't leave things to a question of faith.
Well, no, but there's still that's not the point, though. The point is... The question... Yeah, the faith is still a part of it. Because, I mean, that's the big thing of the difference between the way Starfleet looks at it and the way Kira looks at it. Starfleet looks at them as they're wormhole aliens. And they have these abilities or whatever, but they're just wormhole aliens. Kira believes that they are gods. There is no tangible way to objectively say that they are gods because that's a very subjective thing. She has faith that they are gods and that they are there and will always look out and protect Bajor. There is no proof of that. There's no hard evidence of that. She has faith in it. So
I'm not trying to shit on faith here. That's not what I'm.
I'm just saying that is the aspect where
I believe my view of it doesn't matter. It's well established in my own lore.
No. It's just a matter of even though these prophets are tangible entities, there is still an element of faith.
Okay, it's a case of I think if somebody had approached Roddenberry with a long view arc on the prophets, not necessarily what you have at the start of a series, but like went at him with the full narrative that they ended up showing, I'm not saying he'd be cool with it, but I think you'd have a chance of arguing it to him.
Based on the things that they do in TNG with religion, the little times that it comes up, I don't think so, because anytime it's brought up in TNG, it's
I think at that point the actual
seen as a positive.
Well, I think the actual semantics of it at that point just becomes a debate about the title of God, and at that point, I think when you're dealing with a writer, I think eventually you'd be able to make a good argument.
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut us off here right now because it is getting late.
Informed and Confused. Join us next week as we continue to talk about the existence of God. This is now a religious podcast.
We will be back next time. Go ahead, check out the other stuff on the channel. We got ReZero. Bill and I will be doing a reaction to the Ruby Volume 8 soundtrack coming up here in the next couple of days. Look up for that. Yeah,
I'm sure it'll be up by the time
it may or may not. It depends on what order I edit stuff in. We'll see. But yeah, that'll be up. Our Twitter at InfoConfused.
Comment, subscribe, feed the algorithm so we can keep feeding you content.
Hit the bell, get notifications. We are Informed and Confused. I'm Alan.
I'm Nick.
See you later.